What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to a 1v1 ranked game in between Hera and TheMista on French Pass. On the left side, we do have Hera playing as the blue Mongols, and on the right side, we do have TheMista playing as the French in red. Opening up with a second scout is Mista, whereas on the other side, Hera is moving direct to the north with his Khan. Now, I did adjust some of my voice settings behind the scenes in the Christmas break, so while in theory I checked everything out and I listened to some test recordings and it seemed to be good for me, in case you notice any kind of oddity or just some weirdness, feel free to let me know and I will try to adjust the settings so they work better. So thank you so much in case you leave some feedback on the sound. But as I said, everything should be fine. I did some tests and they work decently, so hopefully nothing is broken for this game. Looking at Hera, he also opened with a scout from his town center, so he's gonna have the chance to pick up some extra sheep from the left side just as much as his opponent will. But it looks like Mista actually has a head start with that, so Mista already being trailed by 3 sheep from the left side, and as you see, the left is pretty much barren of sheep, so pretty much everything that could have been taken was already taken by Mista. He doesn't really have a lot of sheep next to his town center though, so he is going to need those 3 that's following him, and he also has an additional 4 following his other scout. Whereas on the other side, for Mr. Hera, he already has about 5-6 beneath his town center, and he will be pursued by 2 more over here, and he's got none following this scout. So the sheep wars in the end probably turn out to be quite even. We got one Ovu that's kind of close to Hera's town center, will help quite a bit protecting it in case there is some early aggression from the Mista. The Hunt at the back is rather close as well, and he's got a wood line right next to his town center. On the other hand, we do have quite exposed gold mines, both of them on the right side with no backup golds on the left. This could be concerning for Hera, because in case he loses the right side of his base, he's gonna have no gold access. Looking at the Mista, his base is actually comparable, both gold mines on the right as well, kind of far away from the town center. This one, the first one is at an acceptable distance, but the backup one is kind of far out. So both of these players could have issues with gold control if the opponent plays aggressively. So far, it looks like we have a pasture coming in for Hera. This is a build, or this is an approach that we're seeing more and more from players early on. So the idea here is that the sheep will be a safe sort of source of food. And when you build your pastures close to the ovu, they actually create the sheep faster. I don't remember the exact values, but it is considerably faster than placing the pastures everywhere else. So if you can justify adding 1 or 2 pastures at the beginning, so you have a pretty decent and consistent sheep production from those pastures, so you can once again delay your transition to more pastures or delay yourself moving out for the hunt. Hera going pretty heavy on the gold mining department. He'll probably follow this up with professional scouts, simply because he already has a Gur out, so it makes sense to grab professional scouts. Ferrying the deer from the right side over here. He could just place that Gur on the hunt on the left side, so he doesn't really need professional scouts for this one, but he could definitely utilize it for this batch of huntables. Meanwhile, on the other side, we do have the School of Cavalry coming in from Mista. Likely going to see a professional scouts build from him. Speaking of professional scouts, for the Mista, he's actually one of the players that used professional scouts the earliest in the history of Age of Empires 4. So, back in EGC Genesis, he was the first player to really employ professional scouts with the School of Cavalry and just having the idea of having a safe food source right next to your town center. Back in that tournament, most players just went out and milled their deer, but that was quite exposed. The Mista actually went for professional scouts. He's got the French working for him. He already went for a second scout. He's got a School of Cavalry so he can train more, and his mill is cheaper. His upgrades are cheaper, so everything points towards just dropping a mill and then ferrying in the deer. He's on stone, so it's likely going to be either a second town center or it is going to be some stone walls to try and cut off Hera from the middle. Meanwhile, for Hera, he's going for an approach that we sometimes see on this map. It is going to be the Silver Tree, but most of the time you still see the alternative landmark, the deer stones, dropped by the Mongols. So if you're playing the Silver Tree here, then you want to go for a crazy trade boom, and with an oval that's this close to your town center, that's going to be rather safe. The big question is, what is Mista doing? Because if Mista starts going for some knights, he will be able to intercept those trade cards no problem, and then Hera is just gonna have no benefit from that silver tree. Looks like the scout of Hera will find the villager here from the Mista. Knowing that Mista is coming in with a forward wheel, I would expect him to go for the stone wall, and that's likely what we're going to see here. It's a pretty narrow choke point to wall, so not very difficult for Mista to pull that one off. No villager dispatch to the north, but that's also a pretty narrow choke point, so rather easy vulnerability here for the Mista. Looking at the Mista here, we do have the villagers still marching forward. No wars coming in just yet for him. He already has the School of Cavalry up though, so he can actually start going for stone walls, but he has something different on his mind. He's coming forward with towers. Now, this could be a disaster for Hera, simply because that silver tree is counting on one of those markets to be accessible. This one on the left side is almost guaranteed to be denied by the tower and the incoming knights. So you have to use the one on the right side, but once again, both of your gold mines are on the far right, and you also have your trade going that way. If Mista just sends a couple of knights this direction, this could be very difficult for Hera to hold, especially because he's got no military production buildings, so even just one or two knights could cause a lot of chaos. Looks like Hera is going to be able to yoink a scout from his opponent as a second villager moves up from the Mista. Hera trying to use that con to snap the villager. The villager is pretty low on HP, and with some careful micro here, Hera might be able to take it down. Knight pursuing the con over here, but Hera will be able to yoink that villager with his scout. Nice find over there. Second knight coming in from the Mista. Hera reacting to this one with the barracks. He's got his Ovu pretty close, so he should be able to get some double spearmen out pretty fast. Tower up here for the Mista. Hera going for the double silver tree boom over here. This build is very, very powerful with Mongols, and we have seen this build a lot in the early days of Mongols being used. And on maps that are very well defendable, and in general on maps where your opponent has a limited chance of attacking your trade, this build can work very nicely. Looking at the Mista, you see he actually wants to drop a tower in that trading path. He knows exactly that if he doesn't disrupt this trade, Hera's economy is just going to skyrocket, because every single trade rated here is a massive amount of resource income that Hera's gonna get. These guys return their value very, very easily, especially if you use the double training on them like Hera is doing. So you see 88 gold per trip. Just for reference, if you do double training, they cost 36 gold for 2 trade cards. 74 wood as well, of course, and they don't return that much wood, but 88 gold per trip for 2 trade cards is spectacular. Hera coming out a couple of spearmen, lacking the hardened spearman upgrade just yet. Looks like he isn't going for a double training, he's just going for single training. He does have a few of them, and we do have a tower coming in with arrow slits, so I feel like Hera should be able to hold this gold mine. The bigger question is being able to secure the trade, because that's exactly where Mista wants to be. Just wants to raid with those knights and start killing those trade cards that are not super expensive for Hera, but losing them will definitely be concerning for Hera, so he needs to be careful not to lose a ton of these. Mista, you see, is running to the right-hand side corner. He will try to intercept some of these carts over here. Mista coming in with the fight over here. He's going to take that against the Spearman. The Spearman now lacking the hardened upgrade, and that is going to be part of the reason why the knights are able to take this one down. Hera might actually yoink one of these knights over here, although he's not really microing his con, and in the end that con is gonna go down. Hera was just a little too slow to react. You could see that he pulled that con away in the last second, but it was just a little too late. 2 more villagers arrive on the front line from Mista to try and get a tower up, and this trade boom from Hera might already be disrupted. His resource income was way better than his opponent's was, but now it's gonna be all for nothing, because he isn't really gonna have that trade boom working for him. And honestly, his best bet now might be just to try and rush that tower down, because he sort of needs to open up the left side. It's probably a little easier to open up that left side than it is to open up the right side. Hera has a ton of gold in the bank. You see, this is why that trade boom is just extremely powerful. 900 gold already in the bank, and that trade has been going on for like 2 or so minutes. So it is a spectacular source of gold over here, as Hera is now aware of that tower coming up. He's pulling all the villagers to take it down, but it's gonna be a little difficult with all those knights approaching, so it's gonna be a bit of a tricky fight over here for Hera. Here come the knights. Let's see if Mista is gonna be able to get a charge on the villagers. Hera will be retreating here. He knows exactly he can't really take that fight against those knights. He's still tempted to try and burn that tower down because that is just causing so much annoyance. It's going to take shots immediately on the spearman coming out of the barracks, as now we got hardened spearmen on the way. That's going to be a difference maker in these fights. Slowly but surely, this tower is being taken down by Hera's tower with arrow slits, and now Hera is forced to make a move. Hera's lumberjacks are not being harassed by that tower out here. He needs to take at least one tower down, otherwise he will simply have no resource income. This is where that pasture that has been trickling in sheep for a long time comes in handy, because this way he doesn't have to add pastures that early, and that helps a lot when you don't have a very steady wood income like we're seeing from him. Looks like Hera is gonna try to snipe that one villager, and he actually gets the kill, so the tower does get disrupted on the right side. The map is just stacked with attack notifications, so it's very difficult to spot whatever is going on here. And this is probably very, very annoying for Hera as well. Just think about it, you're playing this game and you're seeing all those attack notifications non-stop. Must be so frustrating. Quite a big force of knights over here for Mista as he's moving in, trying to get a charge in. That's a successful charge on those light cavalry. And while he's fighting this over here, he's getting that tower up on the north. You see there is a new villager out there. Hera popping the speed arrow, and that is going to help quite a bit. Dealing with those knights, looks like Mista is a little slow to react. And that is going to be quite a few knights down over there. He did lose one. He tried to pull away. The rest of them will survive for now, but now Hera is setting that tower on fire. Remember, every single building set on fire is going to give resources to the Mongols here, so once Hera is able to start cleaning up those towers, that's going to benefit him quite massively. Another tower coming in here from Mista, trying to deny this wood income down south. This one on the left side of Hera's base is already being denied. Hera is at 44 eco, 39 only for the Mista, but obviously Mista's economy is untouched, whereas Hera's one is being harassed quite a bit. Hera's Khan once again falls, and the Mista is pulling a villager in the last second to try and save that tower, but it's not going to work out. The light cav will finish off the villager, and now the spearmen join up with the horsemen here. Turns out to be a very good battle for Hera, and in the end, Mista gets forced back. This is the window that Hera wants to use. He's running out of food down beneath his town center, but he managed to clean up his opponent's army. This is probably the time where you're going to try and pull your army and fight on the left side, because that tower is definitely annoying. Hera is unaware of that other tower coming in at the back of his wood income. Looks like he's going to play with the aggression on this tower. That's probably the most weakened tower, so it makes sense to try and take it down. Although the Mista just fortified it, so it's going to be a little more difficult to take it down. Still, not a ton of HP left on it, so Hera should have no trouble cleaning it up. The Mista coming in with some more knights. Let's talk about Mista's economy, because behind this one, we haven't really been talking about that. He's coming in with 2 more stables. He didn't go for professional scouts. He's just moving out for a hunt. He's got all the map control in the world, so he can actually do this one. Tower on fire now, so Hera can start working towards these on the left side. The Mista is reinforcing this corner with a ton of towers, though. You see, he's placing a tower on the hunt. He's placing a tower in the trade. He knows exactly that Hera wants to go for a trade boom, so he needs those towers up there. Third tower in here for Mista. In general, this position will be heavily fortified, so it's going to be difficult for Hera to relieve all that pressure from his base. Now he's going to be forced away from this wood income, so he's going to have to go back over here. But he cleans up another tower, and remember, every single tower burned down helps him. Still, the biggest problem at this point for Hera is that he's very far from cleaning up the trade. He's just now moving out towards these towers, but the Mista knows exactly that all he needs to do is just delay this push as much as possible, make some more towers. I would love to see some archers from the Mista here, just so that he can pick off some of those spearmen, because the longer you delay this trade moving in, the bigger your window is to finish off Hera over here. Looks like a 4th tower is even coming in here on the left. Turns out that one of those villagers will go down, the other one is going to be able to finish the tower. On the right side, Hera is pushing up with those horsemen, and of course the spearmen. Another fortified tower upgrade coming in here from Mista, but these are just a little too late. You see, by the time this upgrade finishes, this tower might be like half dead. So this is an upgrade that takes quite a bit of a time to come in, and by the time it finishes, it is going to be a heavily damaged tower. Khan goes down from Hera. While he was looking at his force on the right side, most likely, he forgot about the Khan, and that is 4 towers, all with arrow slits, doing a lot of damage to that Khan. Hera, He's still popping out some spearmen, and he's finally cleaning up this tower. Looks like Mista stopped making army over here. So the question is he going into Castle Age because his resources are kind of low? And the answer is no. Looks like he is popping out some more knights, so reinforcements are slowly trickling in as Hera's villager here will be intercepted with ease. Now, Hera's trade starts to roll once again. The first batch of traders come back, and just look at this. This is about 5-6 trade cards, each of them carrying 80 gold. So Hera's gold income here is just going to skyrocket from that single batch of traders returning. So this is not something that TheMista can allow. Look at that. That gold per minute income is going to turn out to be spectacular. Steppered out on the way for Hera. So he is clicking up to Castle Age. He's rushing it up with 11 villagers, so he's gonna be up pretty fast as he's taking down this tower. Once again, the tower is going to be heavily damaged before some critical upgrades like the arrow slits come in, so by the time this upgrade finishes, the tower is half dead. Mista charges in on the spearman, but one knight falls, 2 more garrison into the tower. Gotta love the move from Hera to try and surround the tower, so whenever those knights pop out, he's gonna be able to get some free hits in. It wasn't looking, so the knights get away, but still, tower goes down. Mista still trying to apply as much pressure as he can to the right side, and he might intercept some traders. But with the amount of gold that those traders bring in, and considering how cheap they are, you can actually justify losing a trader per trip. If you think about it, they basically return their value in like 1 or 2 trades or 2 turns at maximum, so you can just lose some of them here, not the end of the world for Hera. You shouldn't get discouraged from trading. Still, he will need to clean this one up because obviously it's not going to be sustainable to lose traders every 1 or 2 minutes. Looking at TheMista, he is still very, very far away from Castle Age over here. He's very heavy on the bear department, does have some hunters out on left and right, but obviously those Mongol traders help a lot, and we also have to consider that in general, the Mongol army is quite cheap. Hera is the first one to Castle Age, which is impressive given the fact that his economy was pressured so heavily. Looks like the tower on the right side is about to get cleaned up as well. Another tower comes in right next to that market, which will temporarily deny the trade, but I feel like now Hera's going to start popping out some lancers. He's going to have the veteran spearman upgrade soon. He's going to start torching down these buildings. I really feel like the reason why Hera was able to beat TheMista to Castle Age is because he got 50 food and 50 gold for every tower burned down, and Hera destroyed like 5, 6, 7 towers, so he got a solid 400 from all those towers being destroyed. I feel like at this point, we're getting to a stage where those towers hurt Mista more than they do against Hera. Like, those towers are just going down so rapidly, and every time Hera burns one down, Hera is getting resources, whereas they are inflicting minimal damage to Hera's economy now, so I feel like TheMista needs to switch strategies over here. He's adding spearmen, but those are lacking even the Feudal Age Hardened upgrade, let alone the Castle Age Veteran upgrade that Hera's gonna have soon. So now, Mista is the one that's getting into a worse and worse position. Hera with the score lead, although you have to keep in mind that the score with Mongols isn't necessarily something that is representative of the game's state, simply because the Mongols' score is bugged. A couple of Lancers now come in. These are Castle Age Lancers against the Feudal Age Knights, so they should be able to win one-on-one. Obviously, Spearmen help Mista even things out here. Now, notice that Hera hasn't really realized that his Lumberjacks here are being harassed by a tower. And those are some costly villager losses out there. Once again, not the end of the world because the traders are working to great efficiency, but still, part of the reason why Mista has the economy advantage, you see it with the resource income on the top left, is because Hera's economy here is still being harassed on the left side. I would love to see siege engineers and just a battering ram coming in. There is very little that protects these towers, so a single battering ram would burn all of them down. And remember, every single tower burned down is going to give resources as well to Hera, so you could really justify making that move. Some more Lancers are now coming in. TheMista is still in Feudal Age, and it looks like he's staying there for a long time, because he's still very far away from Castle in terms of resources, and now we're seeing just a ton of archers popping out. He's not letting up on that Feudal Age pressure. He knows exactly that he can't really let Hera go for a massive trade boom over here, because there's no way he can match that economy. Even with 2 town centers, that's not gonna be possible. He's putting up a lot of pressure on Hera, but now he's fighting from a technology disadvantage position. So we're talking about Castle Age Lancers for Hera. We could see some Men-at-Arms against the archers and the spearmen over here, so Hera's got the answers to the army of the Mista now. Currently, it's 82 economy for Mista, 63-ish for Hera. A little hard to determine his actual eco numbers because he keeps losing on the left and on the right, and this is a perfect raid here from the Mista. The type of raid that you want to see in his position, slaughtering all those trade cards just before they would escape this pressure on the right side. And now it very much seems like Mista might have enough juice over here to deny the right side. Keep in mind that while Hera's trade economy is spectacular, if these guys get raided, suddenly Hera's gonna get cut off from the majority of his gold income. He will still have the step redoubt working for him, and he still has the Castle Age army to secure his corner, but if Mista goes for like a full-on feudal age pressure over here, he might be in a position to potentially starve Hera out of gold at this space. It's gonna be a difficult thing to pull off, obviously, because Hera still has a lot of mineable gold, he's got the step redoubt working for him, and Hera is in Castle Age, but that is probably the idea here for Mista. Otherwise, he should be progressing towards Castle Age, but to me it feels like he just wants to go full feudal pressure, so the idea has to be that he's trying to starve Hera out of gold as much as possible. It doesn't seem to be working though. His feudal age army is now clearly inferior to the one of Hera, and that is going to be a cleanup by our blue player. 26 army only for Mista, 16 only for Hera, but the most important thing at this point for him is that he's going to start burning down these towers, he's going to start securing that trade. Somewhat weirdly, he still hasn't really addressed the problem of the towers on the left side of his base, and those keep harassing his wood income. Another batch of knights coming in here for Mista. Now, since Mista isn't really able to get towers up on the corner anymore, the best thing he can do is try to come in with some knights and kill the trade cards, but even that is just extremely difficult. The thing is that the trade cards return their value so fast that if a trade card just survives 1 or 2 turns, it already brings its price back. So, unless you kill them basically in the first turn after their spawn, you will not really be doing that much damage to Hera. A couple of man-at-arms are coming in as we speak. Mista still flooding units from insane production. We're talking about 3 barracks, 3 archer ranges, and a couple of stables are there on the left side as well. Still, Hera's biggest problem, I do believe, is wood income, because that is being harassed to hell on the left side, and this is the moment where he's realizing that. I feel like this is currently the safest wood income for Hera. It is at the north of his base, rather safe because his army is nearby. Pretty sizable force of Mista coming in here, but he's still suffering from a technology disadvantage, so he's got 10 Royal Knights versus 9 Castle Age Lancers. A couple more Lancers hit the field, and you see, the Mista is just trying to push that corner with the trade. Would love to see a tower from Hera over there for vision. That would help a lot, making sure that Mista can't just sneak a couple of knights in. And you see, this is the moment where Mista is realizing that, oh shoot, this might be a long game. We're coming in with stone walls, some on the left side to protect the back of his economy, and some on the right side to cut off Hera from the middle sacred sites. Because remember that if we're seeing some fortifications dropped in here by Mista and he gets the sacred sites in the middle, he could force Hera to make a move, so Hera couldn't just sit back and boom. Looks like Mista charges in over here, he brazed all the spearmen, and that is a pretty decent fight over here for the Mista. Getting some very nice shots in with those spearmen. You see Hera has to pull all his lancers back, many of them heavily damaged. Some men-at-arms definitely help out in this one, not something that the Mista has answered to, but this is probably the best thing you could hope for when you're using a feudal age army against the Castle Age one. And the most important thing for the Mista is that he could use this window to finish these walls over here on the right side. On the left side, still everything is peaceful, just towers versus towers. As we speak, Mista getting close to Castle Age with those resources. If you look at the resource income per minute, that turns out to be slightly better for the Mista overall, but it's getting closer and closer. Mista, however, is sitting at 97 eco, only 71 for Hera. So once Hera gets some more trade cards out, he's gonna have a much better resource income. Trading in 1v1 is very underrated on certain maps, so being able to trade, even in early game, could be a massive source of extra resources. This is one of those maps, French Pass, where you can definitely justify that if you have safe corners. The other map where you could think about that is Boulder Bay. Once you get water control, a couple of traders on the water can yield spectacular gold income. So if you are fighting on Boulder Bay next time and you win water, consider adding just a couple of trade cards. It's not a big investment, and they return their value really fast. Stone walls are up on the far right. Mista sending some villagers on stone. Love how Mista moved out for the boars, so he's trying to delay his farm transition as much as possible. You see, he's barely using farms for his food income, as he is... is he going up? Is he going up? It's a monastery. Oh yeah, he's already up. So Mista is up to Castle Age right now, so that's going to even out the technology difference, and it looks like we'll have some raids coming in. On the left, Hera is also switching to the left side over here. Wouldn't be surprised to see a villager from Mista being pulled to Vodis crossing off. No villagers just yet. We got a monastery out for him, and he's got some relics nearby, so that's gonna be a nice extra trickle of gold, as now Hera is moving out to burn down those towers. There's the siege engineers and the battering rams. This is gonna be some nice and juicy gold income, by the way, for Hera, so he has to be happy with that. And once the towers are burnt down, you could also have an ovu being placed on top of this stone mine, some of which was actually mined by Mista, so you don't have as much stone here as you would want for Hera. Towers being burned down over here, as looks like Mista was once again thinking about getting a raid going into this corner, but the knights are just chilling there, and they could quickly get surrounded by spearmen. So turns out that this is a terrible fight over here for the Mista. His knights are just getting absolutely shattered, getting surrounded by all those spearmen. He was waiting for a chance to strike on that trade, but in the end, he's the one that gets enveloped, and all of his knights go down. Only 3 escape, most of them heavily damaged. Now we're looking at 57 army for Hera, only 37 for the Mista. Quite a lot of his forces are heavily damaged, but he's bringing in the French unique Arbaletrier, which is going to be an extremely powerful battlefield unit here for him. With the armor-piercing attack, it's going to be very effective against the Lancers. And of course, once you get the Gambeson's unique technology, which is just now coming in for the Mista, they will also receive 5 extra melee armor, so they will be very resistant to damage, especially if you deploy the Pavisa for the ranged defense. Stone Walls coming in for Mista, a wall that he could have made quite a long time ago, and he probably wouldn't have any problems with that. But by the time he comes out to the villager now, it's a little too late, because Hera already has foothold over here, and since Hera can't make walls, the best thing he can do is place outposts with Spring Golden placements to limit the opponent's chance of counterattacking. Sacred Site being captured in the middle by the Mista, as Hera is marching towards that northern side, has a fairly sizable force of Lancers, but his opponent has quite a lot of spears over here, the Spearman having the hardened upgrade, but not the veteran, and some Arbaletrier, so this is not really a force that Hera can fight against right now. Cavalry charge coming in over here. Hera sees the Arbaletrier and the Spearman, and he's going to disengage. He will lose 1 Lancer in the process. He's still tempted to fight this one, but he's gonna need some sort of auxiliary force. Archers, probably Mangonos, fight this one, and those are nowhere to be found. On the left side, Mista is going to intercept the tower villagers, so Hera won't be able to crawl up further with his towers. On the north, we do have 1 battering ram that's probably gonna try knocking through the walls. Also, Trebuchet is out from Hera, and we haven't really talked about this force from our blue player, Hera, because he's got a fairly sizable force of Lancers in the middle. He's got a huge force of Spearmen and Men-at-Arms coming in here, and you see, now he's trying to blast his way through those walls, and he could easily sandwich the forces of Mista from 2 directions over here. Currently 58 army for Mista, 76 for Hera. Economy is still rather close. Mista is probably still leading by a narrow margin, but that's probably what you would expect for a player that has 126 eco over 99. Still, Hera's got the step redoubt working for him, he's got the trade going. In fact, now, if he feels safe, he could even try moving that silver tree closer to the corner, so he would have the distance being even longer, and that way he would get more resources. Looks like the walls are broken through, so this is the time to strike here for Hera. He's got a fairly sizable force of Men-at-Arms, but that's quite a lot of Arbaletrier, and this is where you would probably want to place your Arbaletrier on the walls. When you place those units on the walls, they take way less range damage, so even with those towers nearby, the Arbaletrier would take minimal damage, and they would also have a range boost once they are on top of walls, as they are indeed moving on top of walls. You see over here, plus 2000 range can help a lot, and of course, they're taking way less damage. This is just an excellent position to be in for the Mista. He still needs to focus down those Men-at-Arms, because otherwise the Men-at-Arms will be able to decimate his Spearman, and that's exactly what we're seeing over here. The Mista trying to make a hold happen over here. The Knights of Hera moving in on the left side, as you would expect, while the forces of Mista are distracted on the north. you're going to be pushing down south over here, and it looks like Hera will be able to intercept quite a lot of villagers over here as well. That should even out the villager counts, and now you see those spearmen storming the walls. You don't really want to use the men-at-arms to fight those crossbowmen. What you really want to do is get your spearmen to fight them, because the crossbows don't have a great bonus damage against the spearmen, although it's difficult to kill all those arbaletiae because they do have 8 melee defense. So if you look at a man-at-arms has 14 sword attack. Now there's a mangonel coming in here for Hera. That could have worked, but it looks like the crossbows will be able to snipe it down. Even if the mangonel was here, as I said, there is way less damage taken by the archers on walls, so it's pretty difficult to kill them. And you see, Hera is struggling big time to clean all those arbaletiae out there. Meanwhile, it looks like the knight counterattack was dealt with, and now we have a keep up here for TheMista. He also has a spring golden placement on it, and thanks to being closer to a castle, these production buildings will also have a cost reduction on the units, helping Mista reinforce this battlefield. There is still some arbaletiae on top of those walls. Hera is trying to destroy those walls as much as possible. Mangonel getting a shot in, and even though you are going to take less damage when you're on top of walls, Mangonel still do quite a lot, and once you come off from those walls, you will get cleaned up. So, Mista took the best fight he could, but it still wasn't sufficient, and it looks like Hera's momentum is just not going away right now. Looking at the resource bank, both players are floating quite a bit of resources. Mista in particular has 4,000 wood in the bank, Hera 2,000 gold. Hera is mostly using spearmen and lancers. Neither of them are super gold heavy. So, considering how big his gold income is with all those traders, he's just unable to spend that gold fast enough. That's the cold hard truth. Mista still unable to stonewall this corner, but he's got his own side, and now he could start thinking about going for some stone walls and trade himself. Because the French have a very powerful trade as well for them, and you could have a corner-to-corner trade here at this point because you're stonewalled on both sides. Springolds now coming in as well for Hera on these towers, as Mista is trying to take these down. Has a couple of mangonels, now we're seeing some arbaletiae hit the field, some men-at-arms also joined the party, so army numbers seem to be evening out. It's 48 versus 49, so dead even army count. 125 eco for TheMista, 111 for Hera. So things are looking like we're going to see a long battle here. And once again, those stone walls will help Mista cover his retreat quite a bit, but it looks like he's going to surrender those and now fall back. Would love to see Hera positioning some crossbows on top of those walls now, because walls work both ways. Whoever captures them is going to have that damage reduction, so Hera could very well place some units on top of Mista's walls and get the bonus himself. The con goes down here, not something that Hera paid attention to, so that's going to be a costly loss as Mista retreats to the safety of his own base. Looking at the resources, both players need to balance their economy quite a bit as we see some Springolds hit the field. Springolds will be nice against those Mangonels and Trebuchets. Speaking of Mangonels, Hera is in the danger of losing one of them. This Springold is freaking out, so that's something that helps Hera quite a bit. Sets up finally, one Mangonel goes down, but Hera's Springolds will be able to deal with the Springold aggression from TheMista, so one Mangonel remains on the battlefield. Still, Hera has been fighting with Lancers and the Men-at-Arms against Arbaletiae for a long time, and now you're seeing his forces getting absolutely annihilated. Men-at-Arms and Knights launching counterattack over here, crossbows also crawling more and more to the front. You'll do Trebuchets shelling the production buildings over here, so slowly but surely Mista is losing production, but thanks to the castle fire over here, thanks to all the Arbaletiae that are just so hard to kill, the French Royal Knights, this is still a hold for Mista. He's also walling off the middle, so he has one sacred site under his control. He also has at least one relic over here, and I think he also has 2 more relics here, so Mista has a very nice passive gold income from the relics and the sacred sites as well. Helps quite a bit as well, making sure that his gold income can be comparable to his opponent's gold income, which is pretty difficult to pull off given the fact that Hera's got trade. Remember that you don't have a ton of starting gold here at your starting bases. So if Mista starts running out of this gold mine in the middle, he's gonna be in trouble. He's gonna have to start setting up his own trade in order to get consistent gold income. Hera already has trade, so Hera can just ignore the middle for the time being, because he's gonna have a gold income anyways. Speaking of which, Mista's gold income is dropping over here. It was like 1500 just a minute ago. Now it's around 1200, so we're getting to the domain where Mista's gonna have gold control issues. There's only 5000 gold left in the middle to mine, and he's nowhere close to setting up a trading economy right now. Trebuchet setting up once again to take down the production buildings. Many of them have already been destroyed. Springboard's rolling up here for the Mista to get some shots in. They will be able to get some damage down that horseman, but they weren't really able to hit the siege weapons. So far, the Mista is still holding this position, though, and now he's launching counterattack. Arbaletry move up, and this could be a decent fight here for the Mista. He's got staggered formation on those Arbaletry. The Mangonels aren't really able to hit them. And now, thanks to the castle fire, thanks to the Arbaletry fire, those Lancers are just getting absolutely annihilated. The Men-at-Arms are doing a very nice job against the Spearmen, and this is definitely an underwhelming fight here for Hera. Mangonel's now helping a tiny bit against those Men-at-Arms, but at this point, this is even at the best for Hera, and that's not something where he wants to be. He isn't going to be very disappointed because he's set up for a long game. He already has the trading going for him, but obviously he wanted more from this push. It looks like the Arbaletry will eat a massive Mangonel shot though, and that could be the turning point of the game. Such a Mangonel shot is exactly what Hera is looking for, and with that, those Arbaletry numbers feel very much decimated. Now we're seeing some Rare and Royal Knights hitting the field here for Mista, trying to take down those siege weapons. Looks like the keep is going to get finished. Massive accomplishment here for the Mista. He really needs that keep to prevent Hera from pushing through. That Mangonel shot almost ended Mista's army over there. Massive hit over there, and just something that Mista has to be very happy that he avoided the second shot from it. Looks like with the resources, we're getting close to Imperial Age for Mista. Hera is also able to buy himself up. What are the prices? So the prices are actually up in the skies. You see 218 gold for 100 food. This is just a sign that both players were buying food like crazy, which is not unprecedented. You see, Hera is up to quite a lot of pastures, but just look at the amount of villagers he has on these sheep. I'm fairly certain that he was low on pastures for a long time. The Mista doesn't really have a spectacular farming eco, as I see. Okay, he's got some more on the left side, so now he's all set up. But I'm fairly certain that they have both been buying food like crazy. These are, I think, the actual market prices. Because you see that the wood price is very low, as you would expect. Both players have been selling a ton of wood, especially the Mista. And stone price, obviously, is irrelevant for the Mongols over here. But it looks like the food price is up in the skies. The Mista getting his castle trapped over here. Hera assembling another push. Mista is down to 30 army. Hera is at 90. So it's a 1-to-3 army ratio we're talking about. It's a decisive advantage there for Hera. And the thing is that Mista is up to Imperial Age now. He is probably up with the College of Artillery. No, he actually went up with a Red Palace. Ooh, that's a decision point to talk about later on. In the long run, the College of Artillery would have helped a lot with the Culverins, but in this very moment, the Red Palace is gonna be immensely valuable. This building has an insane firepower. Like, this building is just able to destroy Hera's army in 5 seconds if Hera's not paying attention. So, you see, Mista is retreating, and if Hera isn't paying attention, his army is just gonna get absolutely shredded by both the Red Palace and this keep over here. No boiling oil for Mista just yet, but you see, Hera started from 90 army, he's down to 70, and once those units actually get into the range of the Red Palace, that's where they will start to get torn apart. So you gotta be very careful. The Red Palace has 10 range by default, so it's able to take down Springolds, and it just has a huge armor-piercing damage. These are arbalest emplacements on it, so the firepower of the Red Palace is much greater than a keep's firepower. Looks like Mista is going to lose this one keep on the right side though, but currently he's waiting for his Imperial Age upgrades, I'm fairly certain. He's floating a ton of food, which he could convert into gold, given how good the gold price, or the food price is. But where is his army at? He needs something that fights this one. If he had like 30 knights waiting for the elite upgrade, I would feel confident. But I just don't see his knights. He's got the elite upgrade, but he's at 34 army only, and quite a lot of them are arballetry over here. And even though the Red Palace has insane firepower, the trebuchets from this range, they'll be able to take that Red Palace down without problems. Now you have a bombard emplacement as well. The bombard emplacement will have 10 range as well for the time being, so it's not going to outrange Imperial Age Springolds. It's not something that's a factor right now, but it's always a discussion point once we get deeper into the game. Keep coming up for Mista over here, trying to hold on to this position, but now it seems like the Red Palace is about to get taken down. It's just too much firepower to handle. 3 trebuchets shelling it all day, all night, and the biggest problem for Mista right now is numbers. 23 only for him. The keep is holding valiantly over here, and now those knights do have elite upgrade as well, but they're still missing the Royal Bloodlines upgrade for the French. So, still not perfect, and currently it's just the lack of numbers. We're talking about 83 army versus 19. Hera, I feel like he can just go full Castle Age over here. Keep that momentum. He's got a very, very consistent gold income as well. So, given the fact that Mista is pretty much off from gold, you see his income per minute is going to drop once he runs out of gold in the middle, or once Hera starts raiding him. If Mista is running out of gold, he's going to be selling food, which makes it easier for Hera to use his gold to buy food. So there is that eco balance out there. 22 army though for the Mista, and I just feel like he's just lacking numbers here severely. He's gonna get pushed back into his base, and the moment he starts losing this site, he's going to start losing access to gold, and he's got absolutely no trade set up. He's just now starting that. You see, it's 149 gold per turn if it's corner to corner. So that's something that you could easily justify setting that up a tiny bit earlier. Still, only 15 army remaining here. I feel like the only chance he's got is some stone walls on this side, and then hoping that he can snipe the trebuchets of the opponent. This is difficult because those trebuchets do have quite a lot of range, so it's difficult to snipe them with the French, and because of that, it's difficult to hold your walls, and the moment your walls are breached, just dozens of spearmen and lancers will break in. Hera hasn't repositioned his silver tree to the corner. That's something that he could have done long ago. I guess he's afraid that this is more raidable than just having it close to his starting TC, and I can understand that. But the reality is that he could have gained a lot of efficiency by moving to the corner. Notice that every single building set on fire is also going to help Hera a lot here, so that's just an added benefit of all this looting and burning. Hera getting a ton of food and gold by burning down these buildings, and now he's heading towards the starting base of the Mista. Mista probably has one window to muster a force to fight this one. We're seeing some hand cannoneers hitting the field. The hand cannoneers would be an exceptionally good unit over here, given that there is some sort of meat shield in front of it. But currently I'm struggling to see what that meat shield could be. We're seeing a mixture of hardened spearmen, some men-at-arms, some archers coming in here. But you see, spearmen even lacking the Castle Age upgrade is not a good sign for Mista, because the moment that meat shield disappears, the hand cannoneers will be exposed to aggression, and the truth is that hand cannoneers are just so fragile that unless you have a meat shield in front, they will stand no chance in a battle. The Mista is still sitting on 2 relics over here though, setting up his trade, so he's not ready to give up on this just yet, but he's gonna have to make a crazy hold happen over here, and that's gonna be extremely difficult without the Red Palace, because I think by placing the Red Palace over here, the Mista pretty much said, okay, this is the position I want to hold, and once that position has fallen, things are looking extremely grim for him. Here come the spearmen from Hera. Mista mastering a force, he's up to 60. He has some hand cannoneers on the field, some archers, but I feel like I'm more convinced in Hera's army, especially given the fact that Hera's got 5 Mangonels out there, so those hand cannoneers could easily meet their maker. And I love how Hera is luring his opponent deeper and deeper into this position. He knows exactly that every single tower helps a lot as well, and he just wants to make sure he takes one decisive fight close to his towers, close to the place where his Mangonels are set up. And Mista, looks like Mista is not taking this fight, and I think that's a wise thing to do, as Hera also hit Imperial, something that we haven't talked about yet, so technology advantage will soon disappear for Mista. Hera is gonna have Elite Lancer in a matter of minutes. Here come the Mangonels, and this might be the decisive fight for the game. If Mista wants to have any shot at this game, it has to come from this very fight right now. Some villagers are also being pulled out there. Hand cannoneers doing a decent job so far. Mista with the task of avoiding all those Mangonel shots. He's focusing on the Mangonels, but you see that meat shield is just evaporating off from the battlefield. And as we discussed before, the moment that Meat Shield disappears, his hand cannoneers are just sitting ducks. A handful of archers over here with only the Castle Age upgrade will be insufficient to deal with the Spearmen and the Lancers. And Hera, capitalizing on that trade boom from the Mongols, takes this game over here on French Pass. The start looked pretty good for TheMista. He was able to deny that trade for a long, long time. But then, once that trade comes in, it was just a massive advantage for Hera. The villager count was heavily in the favor of TheMista, but this doesn't actually have the trade card numbers in it. So, if you combine it with the trade card numbers, Hera in the end had a way better economy. 46,000 gold over 38,000. Food is comparable. Wood is better for TheMista. Stone as well. But that gold income in the end is something that came in very, very handy for Hera. He was taking slightly more cost efficient engagements as well. And 42 buildings raised, don't underestimate that. If you do the maths on that, that's 2.1k gold and 2.1k food. Basically, Imperial Age worth of resources just from burning down those buildings. So, in long games like this one, that really stacks up as well. And when you look at the army numbers, you can see that Hera was outnumbering his opponent decisively for a long, long time. Hera obviously had a massive Castle Age advantage over here. If you look at the Castle Age times as well, 1640 versus 2436. I feel like one thing that Mista could have done differently maybe was bailing on this aggression a little earlier and going into Castle Age a little earlier. It's difficult to say where it went wrong because I think he did the right thing by trying to pressure the trade economy. But I really feel like if those stone walls come up on the left side a little earlier, maybe on the right as well. So he makes those stone walls a tiny bit earlier. He starts working towards his own trading economy, even with just a couple of trade cards. Those could have been ingredients for a potential victory. But in the end, Hera leverages that trade boom and takes this game.